latest episode of Not For Too Long with Mr. Vincent. I got my good friend on here, um, developmental coach, Stizzo. How you doing?
What's up? I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Can't complain. It's been kind of hot out here the last few days. Extremely hot, actually. How's it been in LA? The weather?
Weather's good, and hot there is something you definitely can't complain about. This is not hot often, so you'll be back to snow before you know it.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it's warm. It's a little humid, but it's sunshine and palm trees. Can't complain about that.
Yeah. I've never been to Cali before. The closest I've been was in Vegas, so I definitely want to get on the West Coast. Just spend a week out there and just catch the vibes out there and see what it's like.
Yeah, it's different. It's different. You gotta find your circle or your thing, for sure.
Okay, so like I wanted to ask you, because seeing you on the West Coast now, I think I've even told you this before. Like, it feels like making that move to Cali has like rejuvenated you, or like gave you like extra juice. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, I think for us as humans, no matter what situation we're placed in, if it's a situation different than what we're accustomed to, 9 times out of 10, you're going to feel different. You might have a glow up, or you might have a moment where you recognize it's not for you, right? So one of the two things are going to happen. And for me, what I was blessed enough to be placed around is the right people. Like, I could have moved and been in a situation where it was just me and my roommate, because I moved with someone who is from Boston. So familiar territory, and really didn't branch out or be blessed enough to be around the right people and still be in the same scenario, just a different city. Right. So I really, firsthand understand now what it means to be around the right people that have the right mindset. And I'm, grateful that I have Brendan over here. You probably know Brendan from back in the day basketball.
Yeah.
So Brendan had moved out. I think he's on 3 years, September. And he's someone who's always been a part of my life for the past 20 something years since I was in college, and really put things into perspective for me and pushed me. And I felt like, you know what, I don't know what I want to do, or I made excuses for myself. And so when he said, you need to make this decision, come out, like you should have never went back to Boston to begin with, like when I left New York. But everything happens for a reason. Going back to Boston showed me why I didn't need to stay in that environment, right? So when I moved out, got with Brendan, did a little bit of the real estate stuff, and was introduced to Dr. Dapper, who is a branding expert, literally best human being in the world. Perfect, segue into then meeting Levi, who is the founder of Louvione, who which organization I'm now the president of. So like so many things happened so quickly that speak to like kind of my glow up, or being in a space where I'm happy, or being in a space where it feels like I have more because of the circle of people that I ended up being around. That's really what I owe it to. Because like I said earlier, I could have moved here and still been in the same situation, just in a different city and having, different results. So I'm blessed. I'm grateful. I'm very humble. I still have a lot to do. I still have so much to work on. But I feel supported. Like I feel like I have a great foundation, and that matters.
Yeah, I mean, solid foundation always matters. And I feel like I've noticed now more than ever, like who you really hang out with or who you keep in your circle can really impact you. I noticed that getting older.
Yep, it's a big thing. And we don't realize what else is out here until we get around different. And I think I posted a while ago, if, people complain about the environments that they're in and wanting more or wanting different, but stay in those same environments that are getting them the same results, which we know that's insanity, doing the same thing, getting the same results. So the other piece to that, I always say, you don't know what you don't know, right? So if someone from our hometown only knows Boston, feels like they want more, but they stay in Boston and they don't even travel to a New York or travel to an LA or go out of the country per se, they really won't know any different. So you may not have any aspirations because you don't know what else is out here. And like, there's so much in this world that needs to be tapped into. And some people just don't know any better because they're comfortable.
Yeah.
Or afraid.
I always felt like people are too complacent. Like anybody who has the mindset they're going to stay one place their whole life, I feel like this is a little bit too complacent. Now, there's some situations where maybe they're taking care of an older family member, or they have children here that they don't want to uproot them and be an
Right.
inconvenience to them. I understand that, but I think a lot of the times, more often than not, it's complacency.
Right. Which that in itself, meaning like the children, I mean, someone you have to take care of, that scenario sometimes happens. You can't control that. But, you know, having children, for me, I'm almost 40. I don't have any kids right now, but that's a big thing to think about in terms of when you plan your life or what's to come, because it's hard for me to be like, hey, no, stay where you are because you have kids. I'm like, but you got this whole life ahead of you. Like, you still have to be able to live your life. Like, my example more so for two people who aren't together, they just have children together. It's like, well, I got to stay because my kids are here. And I'm like, that's tough. Like, I couldn't imagine being in that situation. It's like, that's tough. I'll leave it at that. And actually, I have a couple of friends going through that right now.
Yeah.
Not being able to get up in. Yeah.
Nah, definitely tough. I understand certainly. So I wanted to get you on here to talk about your career being a developmental coach. I was always curious, like, where did that passion originate for you?
Yeah, so I want to say the passion for people originated for me when I was in college. Actually, no, I'll bring it back to high school. Actually, when I was in high school, I worked at Star Market in Brighton. It was my favorite job ever, like hands down. I was a cashier. I won like cashier of the year. I always had people who wanted to come through my line only because I was swift. I was a people person. I talked to everyone, and then I got promoted to customer service. So I worked the customer service desk for like a year. And that's what I realized, like, I really just like to help people. I had this one guy who would always come and see me to buy a lottery ticket. He would always win, but he would make me go through the tickets and like tell him the number it was on, like all this crazy stuff. But I was cool doing it, had patience, and like really just enjoyed conversation with him. And the fact that he was winning, I'm like, how the hell is he doing this? Like, I need to figure this game out. So anyway, I feel like my passion for people started there, and then it just continued through my years in college. Like, I was a resident assistant in college. I was president of Black United Body organization. So I was always in a position of leadership to begin with, like from being a resident assistant, being in an organization. I was always in that leadership position without knowing it. And then when I started to work in the real workforce, quote unquote, I would always have associates tell me, like, you made so much of a difference to me when I worked with you. I would always work with you. I even had associates that would leave and want to go work somewhere else because, like, I wasn't always great at what I did. I wasn't always the best manager. I obviously learned a lot during my time. So I would have associates that would want to leave. And I'm like, all right, cool. You'll come back. And they came back because it's like, hey, they really appreciated the way I treated them as human beings, as people. And for some reason, it just dawned on me. And I was like, you know what? This is probably what I'm meant to do. I'm probably meant to be in a position where I can help people identify their strengths, move on, get promoted, because that was like literally my whole path as a manager, helping the next person below me get promoted or become the best person that they wanted to be, whether it was working with me and staying in the career that they were in, or if they were meant for something else and getting them to that point. So I feel like it's always been in me somewhere to have a passion for people and have a passion for coaching and consulting, because like they're two different things, right? Coaching and consulting are very different, but I feel like I intertwine the both of them easily depending on whatever scenario or who I'm helping or what I'm doing. So yeah, it's kind of always been around.
Wow, that early in your life.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I didn't know it was what it was until I had to ask, and it was actually Brendan. I asked, like, what do you see my strength? Like, what are my strengths? So like outside of my associates telling me what they told me, and I was like, okay, this might be where I need to go in terms of the actual title and positioning myself as a leadership development coach. Like that stemmed from having a conversation with Brendan, having a conversation with Eric and Levi, being like, hey, this is what are the things you can do? What do you like to talk about that just comes naturally and organically? And that kind of like filtered into the actual title of leadership development coach. But I always knew I was passionate about people.
Okay, that's dope. Like how, like, you would probably think at the time you working as a cashier at Star Market was insignificant at the time, but like I said, it helped build a really core, solid foundation for what you're good at, which is communicating. People rely on you. you learned a lot how to take on accountability and so forth. So that's dope.
Right. Yeah. That's 17.
Now, so now with any job, there's always going to be hurdles and obstacles to overcome. What are some of the obstacles in your profession that you would have to overcome?
For me, some of the obstacles I would say is, which I had to overcome over the past years, understanding that you have to style step to different personalities. Like everyone is really different. And so if I'm in a position where I'm coaching someone, I'm coaching them to identify their own answers, right? So to come up with their own answers. And sometimes that could be challenging because I'm also an alpha female. I'm very dominant. I have a big personality. And sometimes it's hard for me to hold back and not want to give the answer, right? And so in a coaching environment, you have to learn how to hold back and ask the right questions so the person you're coaching can come to their own answers, right? Versus consulting, you're set up to give the answers and find the solutions and help them identify. So that was challenging for me in the beginning. It's just really understanding that people are different and I have to hold back sometimes and be okay with that. And not everything has to be my way. That's just as a person, right? So like as Stacey, not just Stizzo Speaks, but as Stacey, like really understanding not everything has to be my way is something I work on every single day. Like in my personal relationships and in a professional environment, it's something I have to like be mindful of and say, you know what? Be coachable. You're not always right, which is my own quote, my own saying, right? So yeah, that I would say that's an obstacle. Another obstacle is I give my all to others and I have to realize sometimes I have to pour into me a little bit more. That could be challenging because it can become draining. So that's an obstacle I have to get through. And you can't take on, like, depending on what I'm coaching. For me, luckily, I shouldn't say luckily, but I've been in a position where I've coached a lot in terms of like business strategy management, not necessarily personal coaching yet. Like, that will hopefully transition with Stizzo Speaks soon when I start doing my women empowerment things. But I haven't had to deal with like a lot of people's personal issues because that can be an obstacle, especially for someone who's a people person. You tend to take on other people's emotions and their feelings. So being able to separate those two, I could see being an obstacle.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, it makes sense. You're talking about you have multiple clients and everybody's different, so you got to like somewhat tailor your style to who you're dealing with at the moment. You can't treat everybody the same because you're not going to get this. You're not going to get the best result or get the best out of them.
Correct.
What's some of the best like compliments or feedback that you've gotten from your clients so far?
Let me see. I would say the best is always. Oh, actually, I'll give you an actual real example from one of my waxers right before I left European Wax Center. I had a team in Boston that was it was like an old team mixed with a new blend, but it was new ownership. So the franchise owners took over this location from previous owners. So we had a lot of changes, a lot of turn. I ended up like really getting their business to almost $1 million in less than a year, which was insane. And one of my associates at that location at the time, she was having like a lot of personal issues going on, but she was very hard to crack in the beginning. And I ended up cracking her in a way where she then trusted me. She wanted me to come to her wedding, like all kinds of stuff. She had called me and left me a voicemail because I wasn't available, but left me a long voicemail, really giving me flowers about how much I've changed who she is as a person in less than a year. Being her manager and, just, again, a lot of just positive compliments. And I was kind of blown away because I didn't expect it. Like I knew we left on good terms. She had a good situation going, but I didn't expect for her to like pour into me that much. So that's always a compliment to hear that you changed somebody's life because that's major. Like little old me changing someone's life. I think besides that, just the fact that I can be truly authentic and transparent in a sense. Like I wear my heart on my sleeve. People like for someone to be honest and transparent, especially in the world of social media. Like everything online, there's 2% of it that's real, right? Everyone's living their best lives. Even me, I'm living my best life on my Instagram page, you would think. But you don't know kind of the things that go on behind closed doors. So yeah, just being genuine, being a real person. That's a good compliment too.
That's dope, man. like I always thought that like the ultimate blessing is being a blessing to other people, and it's that feeling that you get of like satisfaction and just helping somebody, like making their day. Like that's dope that you're doing that with your career, that you have the blessing to like monetize off it, and at the same time like be a blessing to people.
Yeah. And that's what it's about. For me, it wasn't even like I didn't get into this thinking about the monetary aspect. I still don't even go as hard as I should be in terms of the monetary aspect of it. I do it because I just honestly just love it. Like I'll talk to a stranger at Starbucks about their situation, or oftentimes I'll go out to eat. And like I can't tell you how many free meals I've gotten in the past like 3 months, right? Because something always happens with the service. And I'm like, what the hell? Like these people just don't understand operations, and like their frontline associates don't even know how to communicate. Like there's just always something that I just like realize and recognize. And I'm like, you know what? I have a gift to understand what it takes to be a leader, have a great team, run a really good business. And whenever I come across someone who benefits from that, it feels good. Like I had a server at the Yard House at the Staples Center a couple months back. He was a little flustered. He got the order wrong, sent the order back. And then like the order, like it was a burger and fries, and then the fries were sitting, so they were cold. It was just like so many things happening. And, I had to talk with him when he came over to the table. And instead of being like a bitch and like, this ain't right, and like, I want to speak to your manager, blah, blah, blah. I kind of said, because I had a feeling he was new. And I'm like, are you new? Like, did you just start? And he's like, yeah, just started. I'm having a bad day today, whatever the case may be. And I was like, you know what? I've been there. I've been a server. I've been a bartender. What I would do in those situations is go stand at the host table and take 10 seconds and just take a deep breath in, deep breath out, and let all that go that's happening, so that you don't affect your dollar, right? Because you work on tips. You don't work for no hourly because you're not making any money by the hour. So it doesn't matter who's wrong, whether it's the kitchen, the bar, you got to pull yourself together so that your table has the best service. He was like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And so it's just moments like that. And that wasn't a paid situation. I didn't care about money. It's just what I like to do.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, like it's good because like you should never really like chase money. You know what I'm saying? Everything should be rooted in the love and the passion that you have for what you're doing in life.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're gonna really like reach your full potential.
Yeah. Know your worth, but also know that some of the bigger things come out of moments that are pro bono in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So last question for you: 5 to 10 years, where do you see the Stizzo Speaks brand being at?
5 to 10 years. I really want to have a woman empowerment segment under the Stizzo Speaks brand. That's important to me. I started seeing more recently how much I impact other women, which for me was quite shocking because I grew up in environments where I was always hated. Like the ladies didn't really click with Stacey. It was always, I think I'm all that. I'm light skinned, long hair, pretty. So like I've always had issues with women all the way through college. Yeah, in high school it was really bad. Like I was bullied in middle school in 8th grade because I moved to Boston officially when I was in the 8th grade. I was bullied my entire year in the 8th grade. And then when I went to high school, like I always had issues. Fought. It was crazy. It was crazy. So now looking back in retrospect, I have women who DM me or see me out at the events, and they're like, oh my God, like I love when you're on live, or you come on, or you say something, your post, your quotes, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, really? Like sometimes you don't realize the impact you have on people. And so I really want to make sure I can take this women empowerment segment of Stizzo Speaks and turn it into something big. Like I've always wanted to be a keynote speaker on a stage somewhere. Like I aspired to be that when I was in college, and I would go to the breakfast situations we would have with my organization. It was like morning breakfast meetings, and we always have a keynote. And I would sit in the audience and be like, damn, yo, I need to be that person. Like I want to be that person that can create that impact and have that influence on people. So I see that being one part of it. I really want to tap more into corporations to work with their teams. So like the ones that got the budgets for training, get in there, facilitate some workshops, and then have a couple of 6-month contracts at least under my belt where I'm working with either an individual or a company for a long period of time in relationship building that way. And then other than that, unless this COVID stuff changes, I'm about to move to Trinidad. Like, damn it, we gotta get over this. Like, let me just be on the island going to pick my own fish and just not having a worry in the world, right? But just really elevating, taking it to a place that it really needs to be. And that will come with more time and doing more work and getting the kudos and hearing it, because that's major too. If you're in a place as an entrepreneur or working on your business and you may have like a stagnant moment where things aren't really turning over quickly, it's very easy to feel like you want to give up, or very easy to feel like, you know what, is this really for me? Like, am I doing the right thing? And then as soon as you get an opportunity to work within your passion, it explodes. You're like, word, I'm doing the right thing. So I want to ramp it up a little bit more and go harder for Stizzo Speaks, for sure.
Okay, certainly. Well, I mean, I think you have all the tools to get you where you're trying to be at eventually. You got the solid foundation, you got the support system, you're passionate about what you're doing, so you'll be good.
Yeah, it's stretching my discipline muscle, man. I struggle with all the time. I'm like, but where we going out tonight instead, but it'll get there. It's balanced, but I'm really happy. I couldn't be in a better place. Again, I owe it all to the people around me. So for anybody who's watching this episode, make sure if you're questioning your zeros, your plus ones, and your negative ones, relook at that. So that's how I rate people: 0, +1, -1. I took that from Alpha Slice, who is a genius man. Like, if you don't follow him, Alpha Slice. But basically, your zeros are people who don't pour into you, but they don't take away from you either. They're kind of just, they're there. Your negative ones are the people who just pull. They take, and don't give back. And you got to get rid of those people. And your plus ones are the ones that pour into you, so get more plus ones in your circle. And I owe it all to my circle, honestly.
Dope.
People like you out here doing big things.
your people got to do that for you. They got to support you. They got to gas you up. Everything you post on social media that's towards your brand, they got to repost it. Absolutely. I think it's only right.
It's only right. Right.
Well, I mean, we're pretty much done right now, but I'm sure you want to plug some things so you can do it right now.
Well, when is this episode going to air?
I
know
latest
time
Friday.
When?
Friday, the latest.
Friday. What the hell date is today? Friday. Okay, so it'll be after, because I do an open mic. That's on Wednesday that I'm hosting, so it'll be after that. So we'll plug that, but it should be monthly. So next one will be in September. So the Outlet LA, which I talked about a little bit earlier, the Dr. Dapper does an Outlet LA. The link is in my bio. There's a monthly jazz and R&B evening that happens every month in LA. So if you're in the LA area, definitely make sure you go hit up the Outlet LA on Instagram at the Outlet LA. Plug in Stizzo Speaks. My website is stizzospeaks.com. So if you need some information, you can find it there. At Stizzo Speaks on Instagram. So if you're on Instagram, look me up. Other than that, I really don't have much to plug. Illuvione, that's the organization I was talking about earlier, I'm president of. So Illuvione, make sure you check them out. The link is in my bio for the organization as well. We have a huge part of our mission that's towards helping youth with their entrepreneurship. So buying LLCs, laptops, supplies. So we have sponsors that pay a monthly dollar amount. Some are just $1, right? So with the dollar, you can make a difference. Some pay $100 a month. And all of that, all the money goes to help the youth entrepreneurs do their thing. So anybody out here that's looking to sponsor a great program, definitely click the link in my bio for Illuvione, because you never know the impact you can have with $1. It blows my mind. We bought LLCs this year. It's crazy to see little 9-year-old children with their own business. Like, you got LLC? When I was 9, I was worried about not wanting to come in the house when the lights came on. I run a business, but times have changed. So definitely support the youth with Illuvione. And I think that's pretty much all I got.
All right. Well, this has been a really good interview. Great episode. Stizzo, I'm proud of you. You're doing great work out there in LA. Sure. Keep it going.
I will. And thank you for thinking about me. And you continue to do great things with the podcast, do your shit. You're on like episode 200,592. So I'm proud of you for that and not giving up. And let's chat about your transition too. Whatever you need.
Yes, we got to talk. We'll do.
All
Thank you
right.
very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.